We're just outside of Tullahoma, Tennessee. I don't know what a Tullahoma is, but that's where I was. We're about 7 miles outside of Lynchburg or so, on our way to Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels is a distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee, established in 1866, or maybe more accurately, 1875. Either way, they distill a Tennessee whiskey, which is a by-the-book bourbon filtered through charcoal, and of course, made in Tennessee. I'm not getting into the laws involved, other than to say that the Tennessee distillers don't like it, because the law that says what a Tennessee whiskey is exactly the way Jack Daniels makes theirs. Well, when you sell 38 million gallons of whiskey and the taxes that go along with it, I guess you get to make up the rules. The distillery is located in Lynchburg, Tennessee, about 70 miles south of Nashville, 25 miles from I-24, and 35 miles from I-65, so it's close to an hour's drive from either interstate. It's worth the trip if you're traveling down either expressway and have a few hours to waste. Because of all the factory tours I've been on, Jack Daniels tops the list. Now, all this information is 20 years old, so as a disclaimer, you should visit their website for the latest tour information and offerings. The Visitor Center, or Exhibition Hall, is where you get your tour pass of a certain color. Each tour group is limited to a couple of dozen people, so if the tour group is full, you get another color for the tour after. The tour is long enough that they could have a few tour groups going through at once. This is where you start your tour. If your tour group is leaving and you don't have enough time to see it all, the tour ends right next door, so you can come back and look around later. This is Jasper Newton Jack Daniel. He was a short guy. They even have a life-size photo of him that goes to the floor, so you can take a picture next to him. This statue stood outside the cave spring for a few decades before they decided to retire him before he completely wore away. It was eventually replaced with a bronze sculpture of Jack. Exhibition Hall has exhibits on Jack's life, some machines to send an electronic postcard, but most of all, how Tennessee whiskey, or whiskey in general, is made. Milling the grain, then adding it to water with some of the old mash, which contains the yeast that will break the sugars down in the grain to make alcohol. Letting the yeast eat the sugars and create a weak beer. The ethanol is then distilled out of the beer. The raw alcohol is then filtered through 10 feet of charcoal, produced on site. It is then barreled in charred oak barrels and stored in a massive barrel house. It's aged for 4 years or longer, and they have what the barrels and the whiskey look like at certain ages. But it's still not like seeing it in person on an industrial scale. Once your color is called, you're ushered into a theater for a quick introduction to your tour guide and a short movie about the distillery and the master distillers. I'm combining two tours, so you're going to get this guy, and this guy is their tour guides.
As long as folks have been turning water, grain, and thyme into whiskey, there's been a lingering debate over just which ingredient is most important. The way we see it here in Jack Daniels Hollow, the most important element is the whiskey makers themselves. Ultimately, it is their character and their spirit which is reflected in the final product. Nobody knows this better than Jack Daniels' master distiller, Jimmy Bedford. Over our entire history, there have been only 6 master distillers here at Jack Daniels, starting with Mr. Jack Daniel himself.
After the movie, you're taken to a bus, which actually starts the tour.
Once we put it in the barrel, it's got to sit in that barrel and age for at least 4 years. Got to keep a 4-year supply at all time. 1 million gallon per building. We got 70 building more. 70 million gallon of Jack Daniel whiskey set in the middle of a dry county. whiskey everywhere, not a drop to drink. County's been dry since 1909. Well, it is a dry county now. You can't buy whiskey at the end of the tour. Well, they finally passed a new state law 6 years ago that would allow us to sell commemorative bottles of whiskey at the end of the tour. That's all you can buy, the commemorative bottle. You can buy as much as you want.
Does it drink just as well?
Our aging buildings actually are controlled by the U.S. government because at that point we've not paid any tax on the whiskey. They control it until we pay federal tax. We do that at bottling. Federal tax today, $13.50 a gallon. $13.5 million per building. 70 buildings. You think Uncle Sam don't love this place? He likes it now to a tune of about $9 million a month. Federal tax paid right here. Now then, we're going to get off the bus. Don't leave anything on the bus because we will not get back on.
So we've been in it about a year and a half now. And I started January the 2nd of 1995. We did start selling some whiskey here. And this is the first whiskey that has been sold legal in this county since 1909. And what took us so many years in getting it all passed, it was so many new bills that we had to get wrote in the state Senate and the House, for us to do it. And we finally got all that passed down in Nashville right now. But we finally sent enough whiskey to Nashville to get it passed out. You can get more done with whiskey you can with money right now. But now, y'all know what today is. Today is Sunday, and it is a state law. All stores in the state of Tennessee is shut down on Sunday. So if it was not for Sunday, y'all would have a chance to purchase some of it now. And we do work in a neighborhood of 400 people is what we work. And one good thing about working here, they will give us a bottle of the whiskey once a month. They will give us 1 pint. A pint of whiskey once a month. And on that day is when all 400 of us shows up for work. That's what we call Good Friday. But a bad Saturday. That bad Saturday is what gets you out. But a pint of whiskey ain't much. It just makes you mad. Just gets you out of the county. All it does. What is it, George? 2 good drinks?
I only get one.
One? I forgot when George asked for 2 fingers, he measured like this. That's George's 2 fingers. Sometimes you don't even measure, do you? There you go. All right, now we're going to get off the bus here, and we are going to walk the rest of the way back. So y'all make sure you get everything off the bus. And out here is where we're going to get framed. Out here is where we're going to have a picture taken. Okay, so let's get off here, if you would, please.
After getting off the bus, they take a group photo.
Get friendly. The friendlier you get, the bigger smile.
And what the charcoal is made out of is hard sugar maple. And the people around here, cuts it, brings it in here to us, and we'll buy it. And we'll buy it by the cord, which is a 4x4x8. And we got our own sawmill right here. And see, I will cut it up and stack it out here. Well, you can see some stacked out right here. That's how we saw it stacking now. And EPA, made us put the 2 big old hoods up, to filter you have to get the smoke out of there. And them hoods, they've been up ever since 1975 when they put them up. Now you would figure that it would be no way that you can make charcoal out here in the open like this. It's mighty simple. All you gotta know is just when to put it out. So if you just walked off and left it, came back to it, what would you have by nothing? Just a pile of ashes. And that's the secret in making it. You just got to know when to put it out before it turns into ashes. And what they put it out with is with water. No problem with that. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. Pretty close to the end of the tour, I'm going to show you some of that charcoal. And that's where we're going to get us a good whiff. 140 proof. So if any of you have got a head cold, or your sinuses are stopped up on you, shoot, we're going to get them opened up for you here now, okay? I'll tell you what, that's good for might near anything that hits you. If I don't help you, nothing will. Have y'all ever saw any Jack Daniels briquettes before? Like using your barbecuing, cooking out. Okay, now that's what we used to do with the old charcoal. But now we don't do that anymore. So what we're doing with the old charcoal now, we're shipping it to a place in Arkansas. And they're taking some of this maple sawdust and mixing with it. And they're making Jack Daniels smoking pellets out of it. like using smoking your food and stuff. This is something brand new, and it's been out on the market for about a couple years now. And where you can buy them at is Walmart. If you can't get it at Body World, you don't need it at now. And this old number 7, you know, you see it on everything, don't you? Old number 7. Now, really, nobody knows what that means. You know, it's just a brand name, a trademark for the whiskey. See, Jack, he was the man that put that on the labels or on the jugs, and he took it to the grave, really the only man knowing what it meant. You know, we heard some good stories about it. You know, we heard Jack had 7 girlfriends, 7 recipe. He lost 7 barrels, but really nobody knows that. The story I like the best, and it sounds, you know, more real than anything, is the losing of the 7 barrels. So Jack took 7 barrels to Tullahoma up here, about 13 miles up the road, and he put them on the rail. And they shipped them to St. Louis, Missouri. And the railroad lost the 7 barrels. And they said they lost them by now. So they called back and said, hey, you need to send 7 more barrels. So he did. But in the meantime, they found the first 7, and the railroad marked on them old number 7, because that was the first ones they sent, and the new ones was on the way. So to me, you know, that makes more sense than anything else. Okay? All right, step right over. Let me show you some of this charcoal here. Look. So you go down the road here. Now, right here is what it burns to the bean. Looks about like coal, don't it? I bet you're thinking, you mean the whiskey goes through something like that? Hey, it goes down through 10 feet of it. It's a heck of a filter. Y'all can tell it makes good chalk out too. Some of y'all ladies might want to take some home with you for eyeliner. Yeah, to work out now. Let's go right on down the road.
Not everything here was built after 1938. The whole thing had to be rebuilt in 1938. We didn't have a fire, we had prohibition. 1909, actually, Tennessee became the first state to ratify prohibition. The whole state went dry. They made them shut this down. It did not reopen until 1938. So you had some 29 years it was closed, and what few buildings were here just got in bad shape and be rebuilt. Have one original building left. That little white building down there. That was the main office of Jack Daniel Distillery till 1952. Wasn't a very big company.
Oh, now the brick building, now that's your offices right here. That's your offices. And the old building that you see right here in front of us, now that's the old office. And they done their business now out of that old office up until 1952. And that's when they did build the brick one. And they have built onto the brick one, 4 or 5 times since 52. But y'all notice the big gray buildings sitting up on top of the hills when you came in here. And now that's where the whiskey is aging. And how long we age it? At least 4 years. At least 4 years. And each one of these buildings holds 1 million gallons of whiskey per building. And we have got 70 of these buildings. 70. So you're speaking of an inventory of right around 70 million gallons of whiskey on aging here. Let's stop and think of it. It has to be pretty good size to surprise the world. Because right here is the only place that it is made, and it is a worldwide market. Okay? So Jack Daniels is the #1 selling whiskey in the U.S., #2 in the world. Now, who's #1 in the world is Johnny Walker Red, which is a Scotch. But it is classified as a whiskey in sales. And we're knocking on the door. We're within 300,000 cases of it. And they have got it projected by the end of this year that we should become the #1 selling whiskey. Okay? And this right here says Fire Brigade. Now, I wouldn't do much good today with it. But now we have got our own protection here. You just don't see it, but say you have to have your own protection for insurance. And now we have never lost one of these big buildings. So just think about one of them jokers burning. 1 million gallons of whiskey, and we aged it at 118 proof, I'd be like a bum going off that. And we'd never lost a building. Now, it was a distillery up in Kentucky here about 2 years ago that lost one of these big buildings. You know, I don't know if you read about it in the paper or saw it on the news. Wild turkey. And they was pretty lucky. They only lost one building. And you know where the whiskey went to? Into the Kentucky River. They all guttered down that river. I think they had a few baptizing now. But now it was some communities that got their drinking water, you know, from the river, and they had to stop processing the water. What they should have done, kept on processing the water and raised the price of the water. Now I say folks paid for it. You know, 3 minutes at the faucet in your house. When I've been ready. Hot and cold bourbon, don't tap that. But let's go right around. We'll show you where we get our good water at. Right around here.
Hectic. That ain't it. We finally had to replace both of these. You know, it got to the point in time we got both fire trucks started and fire gone out. It's an old 1919 American LaFrance made in Elmira, New York. On the other side is a 1928 Rio Speedwagon made in Lansing, Michigan. Some of you may have heard of a rock group by the name of REO Speedwagon. The name and logo came right off the front.
The water that you see right here now, we do use it to cut the proof of the whiskey. And we'll use it to cook or mash in. And that's the reason why it is the main thing in making the whiskey. And it has been people that has went up into the cave here up until a mile into it. And really, they don't know where the source of it begins. You know, they have went as far as it could go, and they just had to turn around and come back out with that. You know, it just got too small on them right now. But now you can notice right up here, you know, many, many years back, it had to come out up here. Because you can see here, you know, where it cut through the limestone. And as you walked into the new visitor center, what was the first thing you saw? And you saw old Jack standing in there, didn't you? So I asked the exact size of him. He was only 5'2", 5'2", except his feet and his shoes. And they had to make him bigger because he only wore a size 4 shoe. So that thing weighs 1,800 pounds. And they had to make his feet and his shoes bigger, you know, where he would down south. And he was 61 years old when he passed away down there. And if any of you have ever been here before and stop and think about it, he used to stand right out here. Now we had a chance to put him inside of the new visitor center, so we did. So we had a brand new one made of him, the new one. And the new one is made out of bronze. It weighs about 600 pounds, and he looks like he's about 15 years young. So we got us a young Jack out here now. And we put the new one up September the 2nd of last year. September the 2nd of the year 2000. And the reason why we waited to September the 2nd of 2000, they said on that day, old Jack was going to be 150 years old. So, you know, they kind of had the dedication on this 150 years old. But let me just tell you, really, they don't know what day he's born. They know he's born sometime in September, but the exact date, they have no idea. You know, for the 150th birthday, we had it on September the 2nd. Last year, for the 151st birthday, we had it on September 1st. So really, they don't know what day he's born. But what we do, we partied the whole month. You know, party every day of September. That's where you're determined to get the right date out. Let's go ahead and check old Jack out. They done a good job on him right now.
We don't know where it comes from. Don't care as long as he's coming. Never failed us yet. Even in drought years, never failed. Jack Daniel knew the area because he was only born 4 miles from here. He was born on a little creek called Mulberry Creek. He had 9 brothers and sisters. He was the independent child. Shortly after Jack Daniels was born, his mother died. He was about 6 years old, and his father remarried. He ran away. He lived in over here on West Street. He lived in the home of a man and his wife. Dan Paul. Dan Paul was the man that taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey.
The reason why I say that, when it rains, it looks like his nose here. So he needs his hat on bad eye now. I'll tell you what, y'all take pictures or whatever here, and when you get finished taking your pictures, come on down on the inside of the old office here, and we'll kind of tell you that it's going on spring break guy. They were from all over. Missouri.
Missouri, Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana, I mean, Illinois. I'll tell you what, there was a bunch of them.
You just don't want to be in Florida by now.
Now, and every one of them, some of them's going to Miami, and some of them's going to Panama City.
Panama City's a hot spot.
Yeah, that's where some of them's going out yesterday. And where y'all from, ma'am?
I'm from Virginia Beach,
Virginia Beach.
and Mom's from Minnesota, and my sister's from Georgia.
From Georgia.
Sorry.
That's all right. Hey, I get paid by the hour.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's all plays the same, man. Hey, this man here don't get in no hurry. I'm paying you right now. All right, now the big picture, you know, you see right here on the wall, gentleman with the big mustache, the biggest picture. Now, it is the picture of the man. That's Mr. Jack. See here, he was never married. He never had no kids. So when he passed away, he left all of this here to his nephew. And that's the picture of the nephew here that was on road top. Gentleman with the big smile on his face.
Yeah.
And you can see why he's got a smile now, don't you? Now the nephew, he ran the operation up until 1947. And that's when he passed away. And who took over the operation, you know, after his death was his 4 sons. And that's their picture right here on this wall. The 4 boys. And you know, you can even tell that that picture was even taken, you know, right here in this office, right around this old stove here. And all 4 of them boys is deceased. All 4 of them's dead. Lost the last one, I want to say in the neighborhood of about 7 years ago. But now this is a corporation, and it came a corporate thing back in 1956. And who owns this? Have y'all ever heard of Brown-Forman? So Brown-Forman is a big distilling corporation out of Louisville, Kentucky. So they own Early Times, Old Forester, Southern Comfort, Canadian Mist, and the name goes on and on and on. And it's on safe that you see right here. Y'all better watch that joker. That's what killed Jack, that old safe. Now it didn't fall on him or nothing like it. So he came into work here early one morning and attempt to open his safe. And he couldn't open it. You know, he must have had a bad night or something. So he got mad at it. So he just hauled off and kicked it. When he kicked it, he broke his big toe. And they finally had to take his leg off. And soon after that, he did die of infection. You know, gangrene set up by. And that's what killed the gentleman, was by kicking that safe. Temper, temper, temper. But you know what I say about the whole story? And this here's just my saying. What I have read, I say he was a diabetic. And the reason why I say that, you are speaking of the early 1900s. And it was more people dying of gangrene, and the reason why, you know, they didn't have the medication back in, and they didn't even know what sugar was. You know, I heard of kicking the bucket, but not a safe right now. The rich people kick safes, and poor people kick buckets. He should have been soaking his foot in his whiskey, shouldn't he? I got the deal right now. And right here is a picture now of Jack's workforce. And we kind of figure this picture was made about 1890 to 1895. And you can see Mr. Jack himself, you know, sitting right in the middle of him here now. And here's the nephew sitting behind him here. And the nephew ain't got the smile yet, because Jack ain't kicked the safe yet. But look where he's sitting at. He's sitting right behind old Uncle, ain't he, out now? All right, we're going to ease on through here and get us a good view of this. Now, hey, y'all watch this safe. Don't kick it now, okay? Beware of the killer safe. Now right here is what the whiskey is made of. The recipe of the mash. It's 80% corn, 12% barley, and 8% rye. That's the recipe of the mash. And all of the grain comes out of the Midwest is where it comes from. So we got a broker that buys it off the grain market for our side. And we'll use about 14,000 bushels of grain a day. 14,000 a day. And out of that 14,000, 80% of that now is corn, okay? Now I'm gonna take you over here and I'm gonna show you where all the whiskey is made at. I'm gonna show you the stills and all. Now you ain't gonna be able to see no whiskey being made over here today because we make it 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. We used to make it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but we have cut back to 5. And let me tell you the reason why. We got 5 stills over here. So every bit of this whiskey is made through 5 stills. And 4 of these stills is what we call a 54-inch still. And what I mean by 54 inches, the cylinder, the column of the still is 54 inches wide. We got 4 of these. Now here about a year ago, we had room to put 1 more still in. So they added the 5th still. And since we only had room to put 1 more still in, they put old Big Daddy in there. They popped us in a 76-inch still. Inside this 76-inch still is bigger enough to make as much as 2 of these 54 inches. So we're still making the same amount of whiskey, but we can do it in 5 days instead of 7 now, okay? You won't have no problem picking this new still out because it's so much bigger right now. That old big still, it can make 30 gallons of whiskey a minute is what it can make. It's a stream of whiskey that comes out from it about that big around. If an old moonshiner should see that, he would faint. He wouldn't believe it that now. But let's go down here and show you the stills and all. Alrighty. And here's your master distillers right here. That's the gentleman's. It's only been 6 of them. So that's your master distillers. I've been working on since 1975. Got right out of high school and came to work. And how long we can leave. I've been doing this here since '81. This here beach working. Beach working. It's 5 of us that does this full time. So this is all we do. And in the summertime, they got to get us some part-time help, cottage students and stuff like that. Because we're taking a neighborhood of 200,000 people a year from here. So, the tour is a big thing. I guess yesterday, we probably, it rained half the day yesterday, and I'm going to say we probably took 800 people from here yesterday. Sure did, we had a few buses come in and all, yeah, it was just a pretty good day. I say spring break.
In this building, we've got to climb this one and 2 more sets of steps like that. So actually, there's 3 sets of stairs like this got to go up. And then, of course, actually we see the charcoal now and go back down. So if you don't want to climb all these steps, down to the next building down here, there's actually a ramp that goes into the building. We've got some benches in there, and we'll be in there like this.